Hi everyone. So I'm just here, just above Harvey's, if on the second floor of D building, kind of where D connects to B and where there's that bridge that takes us over to A building. So if you just want to get a sense of where we are, right below us is Harvey's. So what I want you to do is grab the camera and grab the tilt shift lens and just come over here where there's that second floor bridge that takes us across over the boardwalk. I've already got a camera set up for us, and I just want to show you what I want you to do. If you take a look here, I've got the camera. It's just about, mid-body height, kind of the same height as this bar here, and I've got it aimed towards the other end of the glass here. So I've got a 45 millimeter tilt shift lens, and the reason that we're doing this is because I want you guys to see or understand this concept of shine through. I want you to actually take that shine through principle and put it into practice. So go to Lowe's and sign out a 45 millimeter tilt shift lens, and make sure you use a tripod and just get yourself set up in this situation. And what I'm doing here is I'm going to try to focus from this pillar all the way to the other pillar over there. So when I do this exercise, my first shot, I'm going to leave the lens in the normal position. So I'm not tilting it, I'm not swinging it, I'm not shifting it, I'm just leaving all of the controls in their neutral position. And you can use manual, you can use auto exposure, that's up to you. If you do use auto, it's very bright in here. The camera might want to darken things down, so you might have to increase your exposure compensation 1 or 2 stops. So I'm all set up here, and what I'm doing is I'm setting my camera to f2.8, widest aperture possible, the minimum amount of depth of field, and I'm focusing on about 1/3 into my photo. Is what I'm going to, that pillar there, and that's what I'm going to focus on. And I'm just going to go ahead and take a picture and take a look at it. And if I look at the preview and zoom in, I can see that that pillar is in focus and all the rest of them are out of focus. And that was photograph number 1. And now we're going to do photograph number 2. And that's where we're going to go ahead and play around with the controls on the tilt shift lens. So in my other videos, I showed you that there are a couple of movements. There's the shift up and down. However, for this scenario, to use shine through, that's not the control we want to use. We want to do a tilt or a swing. And in this case, I want my plane of focus to extend this way, so I want my lens to turn in this direction. So even though this is called a tilt shift lens, this movement, technically we would actually call that a swing because we're swinging over. If I was doing something like this, where I was photographing a plate of food or a tabletop, where I wanted my plane of focus to extend in this direction, then I would do something they call a tilt. And there I am tilting down and tilting up. But for this wall, we're photographing something that's vertical, so I need to do a swing. So I'm just going to press that little button there, and I can rotate my lens that way. So when you sign this lens out of photo loans, I don't know what orientation it will be in, but for this particular case, we want it set so that when we turn this knob here, it swings left to right. So it's a bit of a trick getting this right, and what I strongly suggest you do is use live view if you have it. And what I'm doing is I've got live view and I'm hitting the actual magnification button so that I can zoom in on what I am going to be taking a picture of, and I can really check my focus. And what I'm doing is I'm going to check my focus on this pillar, and then I'm going to move to the next pillar and check my focus. So it's a bit of back and forth. What I'm going to do is just start my shift, and I'm just going, maybe about 1/4 of what it allows me to do. And then I'm going to go in and check my focus. And I'm checking my focus there, and then I'm going to check my focus on the farthest pillar. And just to be sure, I'm going to zoom in even more. And once I'm satisfied with that, I'm just going to go ahead and take the picture. So it might not work for you right away. You might have to do some focusing, do a little bit of tweaking, some more focusing, some more tweaking, and eventually you'll get it to the point where you're going to get everything in focus. If we were using a 4x5, if we were using a 4x5 camera, if we were going to follow the proper shine flute principle, we would imagine a plane going from our sensor to some imaginary spot over there, and you would think about all these pillars, and they're on a plane, and we would think about where does that plane intersect where my sensor plane is meeting. So those two lines will kind of meet here somewhere, and the idea is you would tilt this lens until the lens kind of matches up with that. Well, that works with the 4x5 camera and large format cameras. With these lenses, it's a little bit trickier than that. The optics aren't quite as, it's a little bit more complicated with these. So what I find, it's better to just do trial and error, and eventually you'll get to that point. So what I want you to do is I want you to submit 2 photographs. One where you have very shallow depth of field, where your all the controls are neutral, and the second photo where you apply the shine flute principle. And what I should see is a photograph that's shot with f2.8 with shallow depth of field, and yet you've got this all these pillars in focus. Anyway, it's about as simple as that. Maybe one more thing I'll just point out. Notice I'm not right up against the windows. That might be a little bit beyond what this lens is capable of. It's not like the 4x5 where we have this very dramatic movement that we can do. We're kind of limited into the actual movement of this lens. So you might have to be out just a little bit of ways from the window. And that's it. That is your assignment number 4. And I just want you to do a before and after with the without the shine flute principle applied, and where you apply the shine flute principle, use the swing or the tilt feature of the lens to change your plane of focus. If you have any questions, please come and see me. I'd be glad to help. Sometimes when you sign out this lens, the last person who used it might not have put it back in its neutral position. So when you get the lens, probably the first thing you want to do is make sure everything's in the neutral position. So I'm just going to unlock the lever below, put this into this neutral position and lock it again. Loosen this guy, adjust the shift until it snaps back into the neutral position. So in this case, I've got the lens in this neutral position. This is the shift feature. We're not doing that today. We're just going to leave that in the neutral position. What we want to play around with is the swing and the tilt. And I'm just going to show you one thing so that you're aware of what's going on. That's the knob for adjusting, and underneath here, that's the lock. So once I get this in place, I can just go ahead and lock it there. And I don't have to push that very tight. It's just make it just a little bit snug, and we're good to go. If you try to move this and it doesn't move, you just have to loosen the lock. And you'll notice I don't have to loosen it very much, and then it's loose. I'm just going to put that back on the tripod. So what I'm going to do is just loosen that below there, and I'm just going to play around with it and just do a little test and just adjust it some more if I need it. Double check my focus and adjust it some more. And once I'm happy with it, then we're good to go. That's it.